Hello. Apologies for the delay in the upload schedule. I need to take a couple of days off, have a break, because it's turned out to be quite a lot of work making this tutorial and trying to upload every couple of days. But hopefully it's worthwhile. It's been great to see people in the Discord hanging out and getting some advice and showing me their work. And please come and join us. There's cool stuff going on there. We're a little community at the moment, which is great because it means that I can kind of give everyone time. But yeah, it'd be great to see more of you there. So, in the last session, we unwrapped our 205 into sensible shapes. And we kind of left everything scattered about. We'd laid out the main shape of the car in a sensible way, and then we've got all the other fiddly bits. So, good news, if you're into jigsaw puzzles, this is something you're really going to enjoy. Everyone else, yeah, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's one of the more time-consuming and boring jobs, but it's absolutely worth doing. Now, before we go any further, if you were going to put this into Substance Painter, this part is not so important. You could auto-pack everything in, or let Substance Painter take care of it. Because of the way it works, it's not so important to have like a logical layout. If you're going to be using Photoshop, or you want to pass this to other artists to use, and they're going to be laying out decals and patterns and textures and stuff, this is much more important. If you imagine, say you're putting like a camouflage wrap on the car, you'd want it to flow sensibly over the section. So there's no point in having the bonnet part here and then the front bumpers over here, because there's going to be a massive gap. So we're trying to group everything that needs to be grouped logically. And you can see from this that we've got kind of a flat. If you just print this out, you could almost assemble it as a kit again. And it makes sense if you design a stripe that goes from the top to the bottom, it's going to run all the way along the car. So that's kind of what we're aiming for with this. Some parts, it's not going to be so important to do that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to break what we've got so far, and just as a bit of housekeeping, we're going to name this part properly. So we're going to name this car body panel or something UV. And we're just going to add in anything that's going to be on this one sheet. So we're going to aim for one effectively sheet of UV space. Remember, this is the area that we've got to work with. It's going to cover everything that you might want to paint some kind of texture or pattern, or you might want it to flow sensibly. So that's going to include these bumper parts. Now you might want them in plastic, but you might want to design a wrap that covers everything. So I'll put the bumpers in, and this little pretty red trim. It is sacrilege in my opinion if you change that from red, but you know, you do you. And then I think we'll put our wheels and glass and maybe this badge as well and the number plates into their own UV space, because they're likely to have kind of more detail in. If you think you're going to want to put words or numbers in there and the detail of the badge, we might want to put some dirt texture or some scratches, or maybe you've got decals on the windows. It makes sense for them to have a bit more space to work with. Again, it's up to you how you tackle this, but this is the route that I'm going to go down. So it's going to be a bit of fiddling about, but once we've done this, we can move on to much more interesting livery design stuff. So let's see how we're going to do this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to join anything that I want on this sheet together. So we've got this red trim. So I'm going to join that to our car body. So I'll just hit Control-J to join that. And then you can see that we've made this here. So let's just move these out of the way sensibly, so we know that it's this. We tap into edit and hit 3 to go into the face mode. I'm going to hit L, undo that, hit L again. Let's also just turn on the screencast keys. And let's hit L on here as well. And let's just pick these up and drag them to the side so they're out of the way. And we're going to work those in eventually. And then what else do I want? Anything that is chrome, I don't think we're going to bother texturing at all. Or maybe we'll put them on the separate sheet, but I think we can just leave them for this model. I'll decide on that later, but let's go with that for now. So we're not going to worry about that. The empty UV, these are very small panels. Let's include this in the main body. So we're going to do the same thing, Control-J, select them, and then we've already actually got these off to the side. Let's just bring them over here again for now. So tab in, we should have everything that we need to fit into this space. And we've already done half the work. So now we need to start making some decisions about stuff. And the first decision is, which parts are we not going to worry about and are not going to be included in the main livery design? Now, it's unlikely that you're going to look at the bottom of the car particularly. Likewise, these inside of the wheel wells, you probably wouldn't design a pattern for those. So these can be much smaller. We need less information available for that. And then things like these trims and the aerial, they're likely to just be flat plastic. So again, we're going to include them in the UV map because we can do interesting stuff around normal mapping and baking, but I don't think we're going to do too much texture work. So this will all make sense as we get into it, but I'm going to hit A to select everything so we can see all of our maps. And let's start by hitting L, and we're going to move this up, and then actually we'll just drag a box on everything because at the moment I'm super zoomed out. And I like having space to work in, but there's going to be a lot of scrolling around involved otherwise. Okay, so that's that part, and let's then go through and select this wheel well and this wheel well. It's a bit annoying the way Blender does all of this stuff, that you can't see everything at once. There is a little button that I'll show you in a second that will help us with this, but it comes with its own problems, unfortunately. So we know that these are our wheel wells, and then I think we can make an educated guess that these are also our wheel wells. So let's pull these up to the top. So why can't you see what you're selecting on the model? If you push this button up here, UV sync selection, and then you select using the L, we can see which part we're selecting. So just need to use our brains here, which is always unfortunate for me, and work out which part is the front. So the front, I think, is this section here. So just select this face. No, very wrong, that's the back section. So this is the front section here. Let's just rotate using the L key. Let's rotate the whole thing 180 degrees. So we're looking in a way that our brain can understand. And by our brain, I mean my brain. And then let's match these up so we don't get too confused. So this is the rear right wheel well. That's fun to say. And then this is the other side. So we'll just position these in for now. And then this one goes there. And we'll work out if they're facing the right way next. But so let's just hide our wheels for now. And let's have a look at our grid. So it looks like everything is facing the right way. Our letters and numbers are formatted facing the right direction, but the back ones are not. So select this one, and it should just be a rotate, R to rotate 180 degrees, and now they're facing the right way. Do the same thing, L select everything, R to rotate 180 degrees, and now they should all match up. So let's just bunch these in a little bit. So remember, just you can select a face or hover over it and then hit the L key to move in. Okay, so that's the under chassis done. And now let's look at, let's see what parts these are. So these look like, so I'm just going to keep working my way around and selecting. I'm just using the L key each time. So these should all be the window trim. And then I don't know what this part is. Let's just see what I just selected there. Okay. Oh, that's part of the wing mirror, I think. Yeah, okay, so that's that part of the window trim. So we should have all of this window trim selected now, and let's just move this over. So this is going to be our section of parts that are just grey plastic, and we're not going to worry too much about detail. So now we need to start finding other parts. And let's see what else we've got. So this here, that is our rear right, yeah, wheel well. So let's pull this down here for now and rotate it 90 degrees. And let's just park it in this section. We'll probably bring it in here later on, but for now we're just going to take all the parts of the car and move them to where we think they need to be. And let's, I didn't check which one I selected. Yes, that should be the other side. So we'll rotate that 90, and again we'll check in a bit if they're facing the right way. Let's see about this one. So that's the front. That's this side. So let's just put that there for now. So you should already be getting a sense of the jigsaw puzzle stuff. And as I said with other parts, this will either massively satisfy your brain and you'll find it almost soothing to do, or you will absolutely hate this. I think I'm in the first camp, but okay, so this is the rear bumper, and we know that this sits above this bumper. So for now, let's just select this and bring this down. Give ourselves some space. Don't worry that we're going over the UV map because we can bring everything in later on. So this section is going to go in here. We also know we've got this part to put in between. So let's select both these with the L key and bring this over. So I reckon that is this. Yeah. So L, I will just bring that into this space, and maybe it's a little bit big at the moment. Just position this here, and again, everything can be scaled up and down, and we'll kind of look at the squares to get a sense of what needs to be big. But it's likely you're going to be leaving that part grey plastic, so maybe it doesn't need to be quite as big as everything else. Okay, we're getting there. I mean, if you think this is boring for you, remember I've already done a practice run of this, so I have to do everything at least twice. Okay, so what have we got here? Let's select this. So that's the lower front bumper. So let's bring this over and rotate it 180 degrees. And then this is, so that's the side skirt on the right hand side. So for now, we're going to slot it into this gap. So let's just do that now actually. So we can drag over these and then use the L key to mop up any we haven't got. Push these above and then we'll drag in. And this is likely too big. If you think that this is taking, so where's this go? It goes from the rear wheel arch here to the front arch. So let's get it roughly to size. So we're just going to use S to scale. And we can even rotate it a little bit to kind of align better. If you want to go in small increments, push down the shift key. And then if you look, it looks like this is upside down. So let's just try rotating it 180 degrees. Ah, no, we were right, because we have to remember that our grid is running the other way around. So I'm just going to move it slightly to check that our orientation is correct. Yeah, I think so. I'm confusing myself with my, if we just overlay it there. Yeah, so you can see that our X and L are both in the same orientation. So this is why we use this checker grid that's got the numbers on. It just makes it easier to see what everything is. Okay, so we know that that's that panel, so we could then guess that this one, which is the same shape as the other side, which it is. So we're going to do the same thing, we'll bring it down, rotate 90 degrees. Now let's just use our let's click off and use our L key to select all of these parts. And then we'll bring this one up. Scale it down, get it into that space as best we can. And let's just have a look at how our UV map is looking. Yeah, it's the right way around. Perfect, so that can go there. And I'll just pick up these four again and bring them back in again. And then these are probably a little bit big as well, so we can just scale them down to fit. Okay, nice. So what have we got here? So this is the front bumper part. So we know that this is going to go in here. And let's drag a box around all of these parts and just use the L key to pick up the rest of that. And pull that down to here because we know that this now needs to go in this space here. And is our grid the right way around? I think it needs to be rotated 180 degrees. Yeah, so. And we maybe need to scale this down a little bit. It looks like our squares are significantly smaller. It's still a bit small, but, or a bit big even, but I think we can get away with that for now. Okay, I think this is going to be the top rear spoiler. No. Oh, this is this little detail here, which we're probably not going to decorate at all, but let's get in the right place, or roughly. So let's just zoom in with our mouse wheel, and we can make it fit in this gap here as best we can. Anything that you can do is kind of neatly pack things into their places. Definitely helps. Okay, so what's this one? Ah, that's the rear spoiler. So let's put that in this part, I think. Maybe not, maybe we'll put it in this gap here. So scale it down. And we can maybe make this one a little bit bigger, because the most important thing is we can't have any UVs overlapping, because once you start baking normal maps in, or even your texture patterns, you'll find it's picking up pixels and things that you didn't want or expect, and it's often hard to work out why. If you've ever found that you've got like a red splodge or something on it when you weren't expecting it to, it's because your UV maps are overlapping somewhere. So it's definitely something to watch out for. Okay, so we've got a lot of broken bits. Now this, I think, is our windscreen wipers. So these can go up here. We do not care about those. Let's speed through some bits. These are the rear locks. Again, let's scale them down a little bit. These are our wind mirrors. We're going to need those, so we'll come back to that. Front badge. I'm actually going to separate that out shortly, but let's leave that over here. What have we got here? These parts we're going to bring down to the right place on the car. So let's see which one is the right hand side. That's that one. So we can just bring it down to where it would be on the model. And I'm going to scale it down quite a bit, because personally I don't think I want any high detail on this. I'm just going to scale it out a little bit so it fills up as much space as it can. You'd be wondering why it doesn't fill the space perfectly. Well, this part would, but remember we've unfolded the rest of it, so it's now too big to fit in that space. We've got that one, so I think this is the other one. So do the same trick. Also, a good thing to remember is that UVs can share, different materials can share a UV map. So it doesn't matter that you might want to do all of this in plastic or carbon fibre, or you might want to change your mind. You're not committed to having everything permanently. Like, the best way to think about it is like there are a set of instructions telling Blender where to look in an image file to bring in the polygons in the right place, to shade the polygons in the right place. So you could bring in 3 different images and assign them to different materials, and it will just tell Blender that when you're rendering this part out, you're looking at this specific area of the image to bring your colour information in. Again, that'll make more sense when we get to later lessons, but always worth flagging up, I think. Okay, so which part is this? So that is the inside of this part. So we'll bring that into place. L, and just give ourselves a bit of space here, making sure we're not overlapping anywhere. What are these parts? Something to do with the wing mirrors? Yeah, okay, so I think these, oh yeah, let's deal with these next then. So these are going to go down here. Let's pick up this one as well before we forget. L key, and then we're just going to rotate 90 degrees, scale them down. We need to check that these are orientated the right way, so we'll do that shortly. Let's just get these into position. So we're just going to look at our model now, and sometimes my viewpoint can get a bit stuck, so I'm just going to do frame selected, and yeah, I can see that massive K that we're actually orientated the right way. And let's just wiggle this about to see. Yeah, so that was all good. Let's check the other side. Remember, these need to be upside down. So yeah, I find the trick is to just move it until you can see details. Yeah, that's all good. Check this last one. So this one is not the right way, so we're going to rotate it 180 degrees and then position it back into the space. Ooh, okay, we're flying through this now. What have we got? What have we got here? So these are, I'm pretty sure, going to be the headlights. So we've got a space for them already in our layout. It's in L. Bring that one into here. And then we're going to hit L again. And this one will need rotating 180 degrees. And we can bring that into the space. This should be the right-hand indicator frame, and I think this needs rotating 90 degrees. You should just kind of slot into that gap. Just give yourself a bit of space so it's definitely not overlapping. So go, whoop, rotate, the next one to go, this one wants to go 90 as well. I think it maybe wants to, oh no, I think we're correct actually. And we'll just kind of rotate it roughly into place. You could spend as much time as you want on this. You could obviously get really obsessed with lining everything up perfectly. Again, like any power blender, the more time you spend on it, the better the result will be, but you have to put a price on your own time and sanity. Sometimes it's not worth obsessing about a tiny detail. This is the aerial, so let's go and get this up here. I think this is going to be the back windscreen wiper, yeah, so that can go and get forgotten about. I think we've already done that. Yeah, that's the badge. Go around in circles now. Front fogs, okay, let's bring this here for now, just so we remember. Let's keep going. So these are going to be the slats. That's going to go in there. Rear. Oh, these are a little bit confusing. These are a little tiny detail on the side of the grille that are potentially not going to be seen. So I think I'm going to put that in this section. There's the wing mirrors. Door handles, okay. Let's just do these quickly. It's nice and easy. So I'm just going to frame select it again. It sometimes gets stuck the way my camera is set up. So this is this side of the car. I find it's best to have my model orientated to match my UV map when I'm moving things around. And then it's going to go in this hole, and again it's going to have the problem that's going to be super tiny, but if you're putting loads of detail into the door handle on this model, you maybe need to reconsider your life a little bit. Just make sure we're looking at the right side. I'm pretty sure this is the right way around, but I am wrong. So let's rotate that 180 degrees and then put that into place. And then where's our other pesky door handle gone? Down here. Look at this side of the car now. And rotate it 90 degrees because we know that that is this side. My brain is just working it out. Yeah, that's the right way around. And we'll just pull that into place. I'm just going to save as I go. Okay, what have we got left? We've got this thing, rear washer cap. So that's going to go up here as well. You being weird, Millie? Yeah, she's being weird. And these are the inside indicator rubbers. We don't need to worry about them. They can go up here too. So that leaves us with our wing mirrors and our badge. Let's do the wing mirrors. So we hit L to select this one. L to select this one. That should be the inside detail. And then L to select this one. Yeah, we're looking good. And can we get in and choose this detail there? L to select that. So that should be everything for this section. So let's just pull it down here and we'll process that in a minute. And we can just drag a box around these and do the same. So let's pick up this part, and I'm not too worried about it flowing perfectly on the design because we're going to have this plastic bit as a break. Maybe you would, if you're doing some really elaborate design, wrap this section. I don't know. I probably wouldn't. But let's see if we can fit this one inside here. So they're kind of roughly together. And then let's bring this part into here. And then making sure we're selecting all the parts. We can just find a home for this in here. And if it fits, it's good. Okay, all nice and satisfying. So let's do the same on the other side. So we're going to select this one, this one, this one. I'm going to pick this up. So there's a lot of scrolling around the middle mouse wheel and scaling, zooming, getting everything to fit inside everything else. I should have said, whatever you do, don't do any unwraps at this point because you'll lose all of this layout. And you will feel very bad, very sad about it. So this part is going here. Yeah, good enough. And then these parts are actually the inside of the mirrors. So this should go here, and then we want this other side. We'll bring that over here. Okay, cool. So we can select this edge, and then we're just going to hit P, separate selection, and now we'll just rename that so we don't lose it. Unwrapped UV. So we've taken that off our plate, we don't need to worry about it. So all we need to do now is find a home for all these parts and neaten up our layout. So we are definitely getting there. So we know that this section is looking right. This section here should be the next part. We've also got this trim to get in. So let's position this here and then select face here, hit the L key, and then bring this trim kind of into place. And you can see that it actually continues the grid, so we know we're right with that. And then these slats actually go in this space here, so we can make this a lot smaller. Let's just check we've got the order right. So this one should be at the bottom. So it's kind of looking right. So I'm going to select these and bring this up. And we also know we've got these empty panels that would be in that area, and I think maybe it makes sense to bring those in. So I think this is this section. So I'm just going to hit, we're going to hit L to make sure we get all of that. Yep, this is this part, so let's just bring this over. And that can sit maybe there. Okay. Now what have we got? So this part is the inner grille. I think all of these parts are related around that, so we can just kind of bring these into this space. And then if we select these parts, let's bring them into this space here. Actually, maybe let's not do that. Let's bring in these ones. We have 2 minutes. Okay, and we'll just put this into place. And this part is the underside of here, so we're now going to, annoyingly, we're going to select all of this and pull it down a little bit and then bring this up, and it's not going to fit perfectly in that space. Of course it isn't. What do I want to do about that? Let's scale it up so that it fits better. Okay, and then these are our fog lights, so let's get the correct side on the correct side, and we could maybe find a home for them in here. A bit of rotating. These are going to be hidden by the light, so they're kind of pointless, but just be careful when you're scaling. If you scale past yourself, if that makes sense, it flips. So I'm not going to worry too much about that one. We're literally not going to see it. Okay, these are the screws for the number plate, so let's put those up here. Just slide those. These are the windscreen washer caps, so they're going up here. And then these are these sections running across the inside of the grille. So again, let's get them kind of in place, at least. So which one is where? So that is, let's put them, you see, so we've put these parts in here, which makes sense, but let's bring them out and sort them back to where we were. And I'll just select all 4 of these and scale them down because they're too big. So I'll scale them down until the one that we're looking at fits in the space. And let's guess that it's kind of roughly along these lines. So this one is the middle one, so I'll put that in here. This one is along the end. And this one is also on this end. Again, it's not super important, but if we're going to do it, let's do it properly. Did we work out what these were? So these are the outsides of the fog lights. So this wants to go, we can put it in this gap here. And this can go in this gap here. There's just a couple of little tweaks before we go any further that I want to make. I'd like this to sit down here, and we're going to just kind of mess around a little bit to make it fit. So let's select this and bring this down, and then we'll bring this kind of roughly over. And what I want to do is turn off this UV sync select, because if I go in and select any vertex in here, it's going to select the matching one. You think that it's already welded together. So I'm going to turn that off and then go over here, hover over here and hit A, and then we can see everything again. So what I want to do is select these 2 vertex with the one key press and just pull this out of the way. It's such a small face, you're not actually going to see it, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. And I'm just going to scale and rotate a bit to try and get this edge roughly there. Something like this. Just scale bottom edge sitting right. I'll push this in pretty close. And then we're just going to select a few of these vertices, make sure we're not overlapping, and just kind of run it into that gap. And we can maybe pull that up a little bit. So if we now look, it's not a perfectly lined up scene, but it's a lot better than it was. And you can keep kind of tweaking. So if you pull this one down, it looks like it's this one that's out. So if we pull this down a little bit, but you do have to be careful because you can see that we're now just warping the grid line slightly. So it's about deciding how you want that part to flow. So I'm going to do something like that, I think. And then we need to do the same on the other side. Just bring this back into. Not perfect, but good enough. And again, for my game, we're going to look at it like that, so nobody's going to care. So I'm going to do the same trick on the other side. So let's actually start by pulling that out of the way. Hit L, bring that into place, and we'll just rotate. Push it into that edge as we can. So we're looking at this face here. Here we are. Which one are we looking at? Yeah, there we go. Let's try and get that flow reasonably tight. Yeah, close enough, I think. We might need to fix this, and again, we can always fix the UVs as we go. Like if we end up with a decal in this space, it's going to be more jarring. But okay, so I'm just going to pick up this and scale it down a little bit to fit it into that space better. And then we'll do the same thing on this part. And let's pick up this rear wheel well, and get it kind of vaguely into that space. Do the same thing on here. Okay, great. So we've just got these trim panels, and I can't remember what this bit is. It's just this is the inside part of the grille. So let's just pick these parts up. And we've got a whole section of space here we could be using. Let's put them down here. Let's pull them over so I can actually select them properly. And then put them into this space. Okay, so just the trims to put in. So that's the offside. And we can't really put this inside here without it getting really crunchy. So I think I'm just going to put them at the bottom here like this. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And let's just pull this down to. So this is the problem with having the shared edges on. If I try and select this, it's going to select the inside of the window as well, because that's what it's connected to, so we just need to turn that off. Select everything, and then use the L key, so it's kind of a case of remembering what's what. Okay, grand. So now we're going to drag a box around this and just scale it down until we fit back into that space. And I actually just want to pull this up to the top. And I think what would be sensible is if we pick up these kind of miscellaneous edges, because they're just the inside of the window frames, which are already covered by the seals, so you're not really going to see them. And let's just see if we can pack them into this space a bit more. And this will make sense why we're doing this shortly. So now we can pick up all of this and bring this into this space here. And we just want to make it as big as possible without going over the edge. Okay, so now let's bring in our chassis, and remember that you're not likely to see most of this. So it's up to you. If you're going to paint complicated engine parts underneath it, then you're going to need this to be big, but I don't think we do. So let's take up that kind of map space, because you might still want to put a normal map into it, and you need information for normals. And then we're going to select all of this and pull it to the side. And we'll select all of these, and then we're going to go UV, pack islands, and let's set our margin to 0.2. Leave everything else as it is, and it will then fill the space. I'm actually going to unpack it again because I think our margins are too tight. Let's make it 0.2 like that. I think that's what I was aiming for. There we go. So it's kind of kept everything in proportion, and I think we're good. So what we're going to do is then pull this off that space and bring this back in. And then I'm just going to scale this down. And we should be able to slot it in that space. So this isn't perfect. Like, there is wasted space, and we could bring in other parts of the car into this space. And maybe I do want my badge back in here. Having said all of that, let's join it back onto our model. So select this, bring this in. And now let's work out which is our badge. Oops, I'm going around in circles here. Okay, sorry, select our car. We put the badge off to the side, so that's why I couldn't find it. So we're just going to drag around and bring this in. And I actually want this to stay fairly big, but we'll scale it down and that can have its own space in here. Cool. Okay. So now would be a good time to save again. So we've unwrapped everything that's going to be this car body shell. So now I want to combine, and maybe we could bring in all our chrome parts because they're so small. I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to bring in the chrome as well. So I'm going to use the backspace key and then let's just see what we're dealing with in the chrome. So these are all of our chrome parts. So let's select everything now, UV, and then choose Pack Islands again. And that's giving us that nice little square shape. And then let's select our main model and hit Control and J. And you can see we've got all of our UVs now. And let's just do the same thing. Let's scale this down and we can go even smaller here. And that should fit nicely in this space. Beautiful. And you can see that where you've got smaller squares, there's less UV information available, so those parts are going to be less detailed, which works great for us. Okay, so that we've now left ourselves with two parts left to unwrap and then the wheels. So if we tab in, we can get a head start on this by selecting all these. So we've got both objects. I'm going to go through that step again. Select both of them at once and hit tab so you can edit all of them at once. And that gives us our UV maps again. I'm going to pack our islands. And then I just want to pull this off for now. And then we're going to bring back our wheels. And if you remember, all of our wheels should be sharing the same UVs. So we have to be a bit careful here. We have to work on all of them at once. And I think we've still got a mirror modifier, so it's actually only the two wheels we need to work on. That's fine for now. So you see if I move these, both of them move at once. And I'm going to scale this down. And we're basically going to try and make the wheel take up half the space and the glass take up the other half. So things can live inside things, that's always useful to know. And then let's keep our wheel selected and our glass. And let's bring our glass down. Now these are going to be our tyre treads, and I think it would make sense to give these a bit more space. So these are the wheel sides. Although everything is in proportion, so let's try and keep it like that. So we're now just going to see if we can free up any more space. Or in fact, no, ignore me. We need to keep our wheels combined, so we can't use the pack now. Because the danger is if I select one of these and move it, you'll see that we've got a second set of UVs, which you might want, but I would rather bake one set of information for the wheels. So let's just see what we can do to pack this space in as best we can. So what I'm trying to do is, and I'm not doing very well at the moment, is to make a square that we can scale up. So maybe just watch the process for now and then replicate it if I manage to do something successfully. So we're looking for anywhere that we could put things inside things. Okay. I've managed to get some UVs stuck over each other, so let's put all of these inside here. I'm not even going to bother rotating and aligning, I'm just going to kind of put things in where I can. This can go in here. So make sure here, because we're dealing with the whole tyre, we need to drag around it rather than using the links to make sure we're picking up everything underneath it. I don't know if I'm actually making this any better. I don't know what I'm trying to do here, but so you can see we're just kind of freeing ourselves up some spaces. We have more to aim for. The aim is always to get things as big as you can in the UV grid. So that's got us a little bit more. And we could definitely improve on this. Let's make sure we drag both of these. So it's really a question of like how logical. No, it doesn't actually help. It's a question of how logical you want your UVs to be when you pass it to somebody else to work on, or when it comes to firing up Photoshop. Okay, I think everything kind of makes sense. Let's not push our luck too much. And we got things nice and big. So I think we're going to call it there. So we've unwrapped into 2 separate UV maps. Oh, we've got our number plates. Okay, well that filled our space nicely. So let's join this onto our glass UVs for now. And let's select both of our wheels and then our glass UV. No, that was glass UV and then control click. Oh, what is it? Always decides to be fiddly. So let's take both of these. I'm going to keep these nice and big. It's almost like it's worked out the way I needed it to. Sheer luck. Okay, we're just going to check that we haven't rotated the number plates into a weird way. So they look right, but I think this one is upside down. Which one's the real one? We'll just select it, so that's the front one. This is the rear one. So let's just rotate it 180 degrees. Yeah, that all makes sense. Great. Okay, so now in the next lesson, these are the mistakes that you have to be careful of. So these were sharing the UVs, but we didn't select that wheel. So we're going to because you can see all of our UVs are over there. So rather than try and match all that up, the easiest option, unfortunately, is to delete that and select our wheel again, turn off our mirror, and we'll just push it into position. So place it on the 90. If we put the cursor in the world origin, so it's in the centre, and Shift and S, selection to cursor, pull it back into place. Great. Well done. One sensibly unwrapped and packed model. Get it saved, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we will finally start making some materials and texturing.